Now, I feel like I want to give a disclaimer. Of course, you know LaKisha is my wife, and I love her doing with all of my heart. And the statement is true that opposites attract. Opposites attract. And sometimes we have very opposing views, and we have to just agree to disagree. Hello and welcome to another great episode of Love Speaks. Love speaks what love is, whether it is culturally, spiritually, or currently. Love speaks. I am your host, Francois, along with
I am your lovely wife, LaKisha Carvil. And it's great doing this podcast with you. We've been riding now for almost 8 months with Love Speaks, and it's been a great journey to sit here episode after episode with you, sharing various informational topics that is impacting not only South Florida, but excited today because we're talking about America, the USA. And so we're talking about love and um, what love is.
absolutely what love is. And hopefully, this doesn't ruffle feathers. Um, it's not our goal to be controversial, but it is our goal to just express where we are as hosts as it pertains to love and love of America. Uh, One of the things is we have been taught that 1492, how Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and he sailed and sailed and sailed and sailed to find this land for me and you. And as history progressed, the question came up, how do you discover something that was already in possession? When I grew up in an African American home, my mom used to say stuff like, "You can't find nothing in my house."
That's right. We sure can.
I found this money. Where did you find that money?
Never belonged to you.
It was sitting on your dresser. You can't find nothing in this house.
That's right.
This house already has ownership. And so you have to ask for permission concerning certain things. However, we understand that that was not the history. And so that's one of the reasons why um, in October, Columbus Day is still a federally recognized holiday.
Yes.
But I don't know how we transitioned it, but I know schools are no longer out on Columbus Day. So now it is not just Columbus Day, but it's considered Indigenous People Day. This is the start, in a sense, of America, I would say, correcting itself. But at the same time, it is also the attitude of some of the foundations in our country.
Exactly. And if the foundation is wrong, then everything that is built on the foundation is wrong.
Now, that's a very interesting quote. And I can understand that quote from a construction point of view. From a construction point of view. However, sometimes some mishaps can lead to something great. When penicillin was discovered, that was a mistake. It was a mistake. However, penicillin is still one of the top prescriptions that's used whenever you have an infection and its discovery. So I I can agree and disagree about the foundation being wrong. Uh, but just because it was wrong, don't mean that there can't be something good come out of it.
And something I love to always say, anything that is divided can never stand, can never stand. And so there has been nothing but division from the foundation because, as you stated, you can't take what don't belong to you.
Exactly.
And so if there is an invasion in any aspect of our life, most importantly in this nation, which we've seen, and now we're still trying to build from that foundation, it has to be somewhat, I believe, a reprogramming and adjustment from that to a new foundation that we can come collectively together as a people and now be able to address some of the issues and not ignore them. And I think collectively as a people, we have to do this together in the spirit of love and unity and oneness.
And I would say I can agree with you with the idea of rebuilding on a stronger foundation because everything in America isn't wrong.
No.
Everything in America is not wrong. However, we have history that America must face. And this history did not disappear when one transition of leadership happened. As a matter of fact, with the transitions of America's leadership, you're seeing the true roots of history unfold.
Yes.
Being an African American man and a very proud, loving, excited to be Black. And I wouldn't want to be any other race but Black. I have met other people who said if they had control of their life, they would not choose to be Black. But me, knowing our history, knowing our struggle, knowing the things that we experience, and our ability and strength to overcome these things, I wouldn't trade being Black at all. And so when we go back into, as our topic says, America, what's love? That's the question we're asking. How do you define love in America when we started off owning, or better yet, taking ownership of something that was not ours to begin with? We built well with it. We built very well with it, but we went around some means that were degrading.
And I understand that, but we're talking about America with love. We can't, and I do believe that we have to know our history, know where we come from, in order for us to continue on the path and the journey into the future. Speaking about the present day, because when I look at history, I can't change any of that.
Exactly.
But what I can change is now and going forward. And so when we pose the question, America, what's love? I believe that it first has to start within us. It's an individual accountability that we have to give to self first because we can't give what we don't possess.
Exactly. And then I want to say this too, and I agree with you that we cannot change what was, but just because we can't change what was does not mean we should ignore what was. Because the reality is we can't live in the past. We got to live in the future, but we also can't ignore the past. We can't ignore the past. We can't ignore if an individual was abused.
Definitely cannot.
Whether or not, and I take my hats off to the late Tina Turner, who a lot of us knew her as the Black rock and roll star. A lot of us knew her for her great music, but the song What Love got to do with it. came from the story of her abuse with her spouse at that time. In an interview sometime after that, she said, I wrote the book and allowed the movie to be made as the last time I wanted to mention that. But the reality is that affected her, and so many people could relate to it. So we can't ignore what happened. We don't want to live in it over and over again. But if we don't tune in to the history that took place, we have a likelihood to repeat.
Definitely. And I'm not, promoting ignoring what took place, ignoring the history. But what I'm actually mentioning is not dwelling in the past or the history, because what happens is a lot of people get stuck in that place. Rather, it is the history of the nation. If it's the history of your family, talking about what's love, whatever area, if we focus and put all of our efforts, our energy, and our time in what was, and forget about what is the now and how we're responding and showing up now. And so that's what I'm saying, not to not ignore it. Of course, we need to know, we need to identify, we need to understand so we can implement and we can change future, we can change present. But what I do want to mention in this day and hour, because we're in a very, very critical time in the United States of America. I think one that I often said growing up as a little girl, ooh, times are bad, and ooh, this is happening, this happened. And I would often hear from my seniors and my elders at that time, child, you ain't seen nothing new. You ain't seen nothing new. Everything, this was like this when I was growing up. It was like this, and it's nothing, no, everything is still the same. But I can beg to differ today that we are in changing times and rapid changing times. And so understanding that when we say what's love, America, we have that's why I'm trying to make sure we're on the same page, because he sounds like he's still getting more into the Black history or the history of America. I'm more so trying to focus on the love. That's where I thought when he said America was love. I understand you got to build from where you came from to get there, but still, I don't want to spend too much time on America and dissecting that and peeling that back. I want to talk about the love. That's what I thought we were going to talk about. Even in regards to America was loved, not just as the nation, but as a family. That's what I thought we were talking about.
That is a remedial approach to America was love. So you got to talk about that. But we just won't title it America was love because you're dealing with a nation divided.
And see, that's not what I want to deal. That's not when I say America was love, from the foundation of love, love in the family, love in the nation, love for mankind, love for one another, not necessarily just Charlie Kirk and everything that's going on. Yes, it can be an avenue, but mainly America was love. What is your definition of love, America? In spite of where you are today, how are we loving on one another? In spite of the climate, the political climate, in spite of family dysfunction, family relational issues, what is love? How are we showing up?
And this is about my car. And this is all about the division of America. It is about the division of America. When we deal with, and we break it down to the household marital issues, marriages end up in divorce and division because somewhere along the line, the right respect of love has declined. America is in divorce, division, because there is a dishonor and there's a disrespect for the different ethnicities that are here, who, granted, some did not come here on their own will. And as they did not come here on their own will, there is documentation of one race
What did you think we
saying that
were
they
before you
viewed the
began to
black
think of us
race
as human beings?
as
Well, in a way,
the
we
superior
thought of you
pet.
almost as a very superior pet.
And that mentality has not shifted after all of these years in some people.
And that is absolute facts. But one thing we can control is self. And so that's where we're talking about America What's Love. Love has to start within us. It has to start with me as an individual. And this is why I teach our children as well, because we live in a very, very dark society. We live in a dark era right now. And I have to admit that America is in a divorce, and there's all kind of chaos that is taking place. Chaos that has spilled over into the church. We see it on every single arena, every area. And so I just want to highlight that when we say America What's Love, what love looks like to you as an individual. Because
Exactly.
if our love is predicated on what we're receiving from outside people who doesn't have concern for us, we have to first find love within ourselves. I just remember growing up as a child, my mom having 10 kids, her being put in a position where it was seemed like her against the world because she had so many kids that she had to do it alone. And one thing she taught us, that you have to love one another. You have to love, first of all, yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, then you will be subjected to by everything everybody else says concerning you, who you are, how you look, how you show up. And so now we're defining love not based on what hateful people are saying. We can't do that. And so what? You can say whatever you want to say about the black race. You can say whatever. We grew up saying sticks and stones make my bones, but things that never hurt me. Yet we say that, but it's a reality that things that people say do infuse us. It enrages us. Yes. But yet and still, it should not change our love that we have for one another.
And so that brings the question is, what is love? And when I say what is love, let's and if I may put on my theological hat for a moment, that the English language is a very limited language. It's a very limited language simply because we use one word like this one, love, to describe a plethora of things. We say love as if it's the same, or the terminology that some people say love is love. You honestly can't use a word to describe a word if you're going to really use that word. But love is not love, because I can love this show and I can also love my child. But some people will put the show above their children when there should be a different dynamic of love. Within the Greek and the Hebrew, you deal with uh, the main love that I'm hoping this is what we're talking about is agape, or agape, which is a
Let's talk about that.
unconditional love. There is an eros where we get our erotic love, which is a love that should be shared in a healthy marriage relationship. Being able to be naked with each other and desirous of each other. That eros love. There also is a phileo, which is a brotherly friendship love. That's a different type of love that I have when I'm with somebody that I'm actually connected to. We have a common ground. We have a common relationship. So now I create a brotherhood, whether it is fraternally, whether it is just having your work bestie that you can hang with outside of work, but at work. But then also the sibling love, love between siblings. That's a different kind of love. There's the storge love, storge, which is the love a parent expresses to their child and that child to their parent. So that's a different type of love. I love my mom and I love my brother, but there really is a different type of relational love when it comes down to that. So when we go back to love, we're dealing with agape, which is an unconditional love. You did not have to do anything to earn my love, which is also for me a decision. That love is a decision. Love is a decision to honor you, to respect you, and to receive you as you are.
Yes.
And that is what love is to me, based on my understanding and research. So when we say love is not love. You know, even though I understand we live in a different world today, we live in a very different world where people they consider their pets their children,
Yes.
and they would do anything for their pet, but won't do anything to help a fellow human being. It sounds like a misplacement of love. So when we go back and we have to define what is love. What's love to you?
Love is agape. I believe that is the highest love. Unconditional love. Loving, just as you stated, as you are, where you are. So I don't see love as conditional to the extent I can't love you because you don't look the way I think you should look. You're not economically, stable like you should be, so I can't love you. You're not, educational. You don't have the educational status. And so we can put people in categories and say, okay, I can love you because you look like me. I can love you because you live like me, you talk like me, you dress like me. And sometimes even to the smallest thing, you smell like me. But sometimes in life, because God created humanity, but one thing humanity have in common, we all, again, put on my theological hat, we all are spirits that has a soul that is housed in a body. And no matter how we've come in this world, some of us came with advantages that others did not come with.
Absolutely.
Some of us were born into bloodlines that came with the wealth and status. And some of us did not have those, luxuries.
Absolutely.
But it does not mean that we should not be loved.
Mhm. And I also want to add to that, and I know I said race earlier. To me, there's only one race,
I believe so too.
and that's the human race. There is only one race, and that is the human race. Now, I can be stand corrected, so you please email us, let us know. Let us know. Let us know. But this is how I see it. And these thoughts are not the thoughts of Love Speaks. These are the thoughts of Francois. We have our uh, ethnicities, which is, I consider it black, white, Hispanic, Asian. And then we have our nationalities where we are actually from, our culture, what makes us who we are. So in America in particular, um, a lot of, and that's not all of our whites, it's not all of our whites, had the ideology that they were superior to everyone else. This, to me, is not a demonstration of love.
Because it's not. And I say that because love on the opposite is hate. And so I experienced, even as a child, because hate is taught. It's taught. And so it is sickening, as I reflect back, being 10 years old or, around that age, being at our family reunion and thinking I'm going to play, because when you come from, and I told you growing up, my mom taught us what love looked like.
she showed us how to love ourselves and to love on each other as a family. And when I traveled from out of my city to another state to have our family reunion and was approached by hate, that's all I can say it was. When you were children and you're going to come to play together and we are told, after going in the house to come back out to tell us, I'm sorry, I can't play with you because you're black. And so I'm looking like, how you knew we were black when this is what I'm having a conversation with my sister who was there at the time, who's also black. I'm saying to myself, well, she knew we were black when before we came to her house. You were outside playing with us, but it was when she went inside and was taught to hate that she came back and told us what hate looked like. And so I can't play with you because you're black.
And this happened
This
in
was
your
in
lifetime,
my lifetime.
not your great great
No,
great
no,
great
no.
grandparents' lifetime. This happened in your lifetime.
But it's still being taught today.
Yes.
And so we ignore, and I guess that's why I said we have to teach our children what love looks like. We have to model it before them. We have to model it as a people. We have to model it as an ethnicity, that what love looked like. Black on black love. We have to model this, because if we don't show up and we don't show what love looks like, then our children, we're showing them what hate looks like. And it becomes normal. And so we can't normalize this. We have to bring, some attention to this, address this, and not be silent about this. Even
And I'm
because in
sorry,
school,
but the sad reality is, you said we can't normalize this.
we
But the
can't.
sad reality is, it has been normalized. And that's why, after all these years, we're still facing very similar things. You can tell with the outrage, depending on who passes away. You can tell with the outrage, because a whole group of decent, agape, human loving people can see something as injustice and mourn with those who mourn, while a whole nother set of people can make jokes. I remember watching that on the news when Trayvon Martin was murdered. The nation felt like it was in the divide. I saw one guy on the news who said, let's sit down and have lunch over this. I'll bring the Skittles and the tea.
Wow.
And that was his remark on national television concerning a little boy's snack that he purchased from a store. And because he was profiled, he was murdered. And the nation was split. And when another individual passes away, who made it clear with a lot of documentations how they felt about other ethnicities, that different things begin to transpire. So it's like, what's love? Because Jesus said, they said, what's the greatest of the commandments? It's over 300 commandments. So of all these more than 300 commandments, what's the greatest of them? And Jesus said, all of them hang on these two commandments. Love the Lord thy God with everything in you. Love God.
Mine is so.
And the second one is like it.
Love your neighbor.
Love everybody. Love everybody.
Everyone.
Not everybody that looks like you.
That's right.
Not everybody that acts like you. Not everybody that dresses like you. Not everybody that makes the same kind of money that you make. But Jesus said, love everybody. And the question, and this is my paraphrase, was posed, who's everybody? Jesus said, well, let's break it down. A priest walks by, see a man who is beat up on the side of the road. And he looks at him and he keeps going. A Levite comes, and I believe it's a Levite who crosses the street to avoid even seeing what happened. Tragedy took place on the side of the road, but the next group of people who consider themselves very religious crossed the street to even avoid looking at it. And here comes, Jesus said, a Samaritan, which is considered to be the enemy of the Jews or the Israelites, who actually picks up the guy, makes sure he has help, nurture, and everything else. And he tells the innkeeper, the hotel manager, I'm paying for his bill. And when I come back in town, you know I travel this road a lot. If there's anything else, I'll take care of it. I just want to make sure he gets better.
Yeah.
And this is Jesus' example. I want to make it clear. It's a personal standpoint. I am not a Christian because of the history of Christianity. Because the history of Christianity has some very dark moments. I'm a Christian because of Jesus and because who Jesus Christ is. And this is the example that Jesus gave. He said,
modeled
so this is who everybody is.
That's right.
This is who your neighbor is.
That's right.
The one who has the agape.
But that's something too I've always held on to, even in my Christian faith, is that verse. How can you say you love me whom you've never seen?
Never seen.
Jesus says, how can you love me who you've never ever seen but your neighbor, your brother, your sister, who you see every day, you hate, and you show it in your actions. This is where I have to ask the question again, America, what's love? Because as with today's culture, where we are right now, what we're seeing in our news medias and news outlets, it just breaks my heart. It does. It does. It really breaks my heart because it's not the love that I know, that I've been commanded, I've been commissioned to live out. We have to find that place where we can love unconditionally, not rejoicing in the fact that anyone died. I don't care what color your skin is. Jesus, it said, with love and kindness have I drawn thee. There cannot be love without kindness.
Absolutely.
And so many people say, I love, but where is your act
Yes.
of kindness? Jesus loved the world. The Bible tells us. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave. There was an act behind his love.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus modeled in Matthew. He loved the people, so he fed them 5,000, because it is always an act behind our love. We can say we love you, humanity, but where have you showed up in your act? That is why it offends me. And I have to say this, it offends me when I see some of the things that I see on social media and I see that it's taking place and people are saying they're doing it in the spirit of love. That's not love, because your action would not follow where it's going and how it's responding and what it's doing. And now you're trying to wrap that around love. That's not love.
And I like to add this to it because I love what you said about through love and kindness have I drawn thee. And a lot of people would take that kindness and be like, I'm always kind. You see kindness in my actions. And somebody said this to me years ago, and I can't remember exactly where the quote originated, but this is the quote. Kindness without honesty is manipulation. And then vice versa, honesty without kindness is abuse. I'm just being honest.
Like
Honesty without
Say it
kindness
again.
is abuse.
Yes, sir.
So we have to be cognizant of when we say our actions are kind. Are we kind and honest? Am I kind enough to know the truth and be honest with the truth and deliver that fully? Because that kind of kindness is going to bring some drawing through love and kindness. It's going to draw. Now I'm willing to sit to the table and discuss with you because you're not trying to manipulate me because you have a hidden agenda because the black dollar means a lot. That's why other ethnicities can move into the black neighborhood where it's harder for a black person in the black neighborhood
That's right.
to open their own business. But other ethnicities can come in and make money and create generational wealth because there's a kindness with a lack of honesty to manipulate certain. So in America, there's no such thing as go back to Africa or go back to where you came from.
Come on.
Because after all of these generations, this is home. We just don't want home to be abusive anymore.
That's right.
We,
I love
we want to come home
That's right. That's right.
to peace.
Peace.
Because America still is the land of opportunity.
Yes.
So that's why, like I said in the beginning, that everything isn't wrong in America. It's still a place of opportunity.
Yes.
It's still a place to be the greatest nation of the earth. But we can't be kind and lose our honesty and don't recognize lynchings actually took place
That's right.
in America. Emmett Till was killed. And the judicial system was very discriminatory
And we
and
still see it
allowed
today.
his murderers to go off
Still see it
free,
today. Yes.
all because he came from a community where segregation was not as prompt. And for him, love was love and beauty was beauty. So whistling or blowing a kiss at a woman who was not of his ethnicity cost him his life here in America. And it didn't happen over a century ago.
That's right.
In Washington, D.C., at the African American Museum, his coffin is on display there. So we want to come home. It's home. I heard John Legend, I believe that was him, on one of his albums said, they told me, America, love it or leave it. And the response was, I don't have to do either. Because this is my home, but you can't make me love what doesn't love me.
Back. Exactly. Yes.
And it's demonstrated you love the money, but you don't love the person. That's abusive.
And we're seeing, and I believe, God will answer to all of that for us. But as a people, we have to stand together, as not just as a, and when I say as a people, a lot of times we think automatically, the black race, and we think about, but I'm talking about as a people who have love in their hearts and know what love is and how to show the act of kindness through your love, because people are depending on it today. We need it like never ever before. We are in a critical time where the divide in this nation has become greater than we've ever seen. I mean, in my time, let me say that in my time, I know the divide has been there before, but in my time, there has been what I can consider a time of peace in my time. But now that peace has been disrupted Every single day is something new. And America, the question is, what is love? We have to give an answer to that question, because that's the only way we're going to be able to show up for one another sincerely, with the act of kindness and with concern and appreciation for one another, even in our differences. I do not have the right to hate anyone because you're different. You do not have the right to hate anyone because you're different. You know how many people that are outside of my faith? I have a Christian faith, but I don't hate any Muslims or any Jews or anyone who's not Christian. I love everyone, because we are all made in the image and in the likeness of God. We are all created by him. And they're arguing over a land which belongs to me. Believe anyway in God, because and you may debate this and argue this. The earth is the
The
Lord.
earth is the
I don't
Lord.
care if you want to argue it or not. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, and those that dwell therein. And so we have a responsibility to model, as I believe the greatest one who've ever modeled love was Jesus himself. And that's why I too am a Christian, because of the love he modeled. When I was considered, not lovable, he still loved me. And somebody still loved me and showed up for me. And so that's what we have to do. We have to love in this season. We have to love one another and show up for one another. That's what I firmly believe as we answer the question, America, what is love? Close your eyes to all of this stuff you're seeing on social media. Turn a deaf ear to all the things that you are hearing, and allow yourself to tap into the love. I hear some things and it vexes me, and it vexes me to the core of my soul, because it doesn't resonate with love. So I have to reject that. I don't care what your message is. Your message without love, it's voided to me. It's empty words, because it cannot be embraced. It can be the truth. Yes, it is. What you're saying is the truth. But even in preaching the truth, there has to be love. That woman, I got to say this. If you're not familiar with scripture, the woman who was caught in the act of adultery, when they were ready to throw stones at her, it was Jesus who intervened, who stepped in on her behalf. And yes, he knew she was in adultery. He knew it. But he didn't condemn her for that. What he did was, he said, you who without sin, you cast the first stone. All of us have something in our life. But love covers a multitude of sin. Love covers a multitude of wrongdoing. And so we have to show up with love and cover. We can still preach the truth. We can still tell the truth. You can still talk the truth, but you have to do it in love.
Absolutely. So, thank you for tuning in this episode of Love Speaks. From that topic, America, what's love? And the love that we speak of is the agape love, which is an unconditional love, a love that accepts you where you are, as you are, a love that accepts the human in each other. This is what we want to relate as it obtains to this topic, that we want love in America. And as America is considered the greatest nation of the earth, this love should transcend to Asia, to Africa, to Australia, to every continent on the earth. We want to love the way we should, unconditional. So Love Speaks is what love is. Love is culturally, love is spiritually, love is connective, and love is current. And so we're so grateful to have you here. So do us a favor, like, share, subscribe on whatever platform that you have, and hit the notification button. So every time that we come on, you know, hey, we are here. Every week we're releasing a new episode of great information, and we want you to be a part of it. We do all of this with you in mind.